Hey, DeKalb, I have some things that I want to share with you, but I think every now and then it's good to have kind of a refresher on why we're fighting this battle. Because we're going to ask you, there's a meeting coming up on October 18th at 7 p.m. with the Plan Commission. I'm going to ask you to attend, and I want you to remember why we need you to be there. So I was going through and thinking tonight, like, I wonder how many people are fighting this battle. So I decided to pull up the counties in Indiana and go through and one by one do some searching and see if I could figure out who was dealing with renewable energy. So if you look at this map, every county that has a red dot, which by the way is almost all of them, is dealing with renewable energy. And I'm going to show you, like, this is factual. I didn't just randomly put dots on here. I went county by county and I found their Facebook pages. I found news articles. I found ordinances from their county websites that show, okay, this is an issue within this county. So if you look, here's Rush County Stop Solar page, Spencer County, Shelby County, their Stop Solar pages. DeKalb County Stop Solar page, Porter County's, Whitley's, Nobles, Fayette County. The list goes on and on and on. Here's Montgomery County, Madison County, Wabash, Jay County. All the way down, like if you look here, I think here's some articles. Facebook started getting slow when I started looking for news articles. Tipton County, Boone County, Clinton County, Tippecanoe. All of these counties are fighting similar battles to what DeKalb County is fighting. So it's easy to have this tunnel vision and be like, oh, this sucks. DeKalb's maybe going to get 6,000 acres of solar, which is where I started. But the more you learn, the more scary this gets. And I will say it 1,000 times. The battles that we do not fight are the battles that our kids are going to have to fight. And you might be thinking, well, what does that even mean? When you say that, what does that mean? We've told you guys that by 2050, there's going to be 70 to 100% higher demand for food supply. Okay. So while we have these foreign corporations and sometimes foreign countries, okay, that are buying and leasing land in DeKalb County, in all these counties across Indiana, and all of these states across the United States, these companies are controlling our land. Okay. They're depleting our food source. And I say companies, sometimes foreign countries, depleting our food source. They're controlling our power grid. Okay. And they're causing nothing but issues for us. And they're doing it with taxpayer money. I know this is like beating a dead horse and you're sick of hearing it, but these companies are getting government subsidies and it's up to 30 to 60% of the construction costs, with conversations about giving grants to counties who become renewable energy friendly and weaken their ordinance, taxpayer funded, and conversations about the states being responsible for decommissioning these projects. So beginning, middle, and end, taxpayer funded, these companies keep the profits, they deplete our food source, they take over our land, they control our power source. And what are we letting our kids deal with 30, 35 years from now? These foreign companies, these foreign countries who aren't going to want to recycle, okay, where are these things going to end up? What's going to happen with them? Property values. Some of you have worked your whole life for what you have, for the home that you live in. And I know that something that people continue to talk about is property rights. And I'm all for property rights. But one person, because they have more land than you, does not have the right to deplete your property value. We have sent tons of research to the commissioners showing them that even in some situations, homes are almost unsellable. If there's solar on 4 sides, and just ask yourself, okay? Because solar will tell you that's not true. But ask yourself, if I go and I look at a beautiful home and I pull in and it has solar on 4 sides, 3 sides and across the street, are you buying it? I would venture to guess 95% or more of you would say no. So you're drastically limiting the buyer pool for people's homes who have solar around them. It's taxpayer funded. I already have shared with you guys where I have a solar surcharge on my bill, and they're looking at the Utility Regulatory Commission has looked at another rate increase request for the solar project that would be here locally. So we've talked about other countries who are struggling paying their electric bills. And there's a lot of science that goes into that. But end of the day is you have an unstable grid. You have a grid who, when wind is blowing or the sun is shining, has all of this inflow into it, right? But when that's not happening, they still have to be able to make up for that loss of power that's generated. And it's expensive, and that cost gets passed on to consumers. So the other issue is people say then, well, we're saving the planet, which drives me crazy because I don't necessarily think solar is bad. I think that there's good application for it. I don't think it's on prime ag land at all under any circumstances. But I had asked a commissioner once, like, why are we doing this? And he said, we have to save the planet. And I said, then why aren't we putting solar on our rooftops and on the tops of businesses? Why does it have to go on ag land? Well, it's not cost efficient. And what he meant is it doesn't bring in economic development funding. So we take our coal, right? Like we want to reduce our emissions. We take our coal, we send it to China. China burns it. They build solar panels through slave labor. They send them back to us. They create emissions building these solar panels. They send them back to the United States. We get to say, hey, we're reducing our emissions, but really in reality, we're transferring them to China. Okay. This is not about clean energy. This is about the American taxpayer dollars funding foreign corporations and foreign governments and giving them control over our food, our land, and our power source. And it's very easy to say, well, this sucks for DeKalb County, but guess what? This sucks for the state of Indiana. And this sucks for the United States of America. Because if you go and do what I'm doing state by state, you're going to find the exact same thing. Thousands and thousands and thousands of acres being removed from one county at a time, little by little, for renewable energy. So here's where we are. I'm not trying to tick you off, but I really need you to understand why this is important because we have this meeting coming up and here's where we are sitting. And I know this is getting long. Shut me off. Don't listen, whatever you choose. But Todd Sanderson has publicly said at meetings that he should not have approved the overlay. Sculpin Solar has submitted their economic development agreement, and it has the road use agreement and the decommissioning agreement. They're not completed contracts. They're kind of like a template of a contract. They have to submit those things in order to apply for the overlay, okay? Now, that overlay, when I bought land here in DeKalb County, I've lived in DeKalb forever, but when I bought land to build on, it was ag. I had to go and have it rezoned for residential. Now, I knew I bought the land up front and I knew that I had to send a notice to my neighbors. And if there was an issue, I actually remember sitting at the meeting in the courthouse and shaking and thinking, oh my gosh, I spent so much money on this land. What if my neighbors don't want me to build there and I get denied? I lose that investment or I'm going to have to sell the land. I remember that fear, right? We have taken that away from solar. We've said, you know what? We're not going to make you rezone every parcel of land and fight the public every step of the way. We're going to kind of pave the way for you because of the green agenda, and we're going to let you come in the form of an overlay. Now, Todd has said he should not have allowed that to happen. He said it publicly. He said that he was pressured by Mike Watson to do that. Mike told him that the state was going to create an ordinance and they were going to force it on any county who didn't have one. And that if our county didn't hurry up and write one, the one that the state enforced was going to be weaker than anything we would come up with and the citizens weren't going to be protected. So Todd thought he was doing a good thing. Bill thought he was doing a good thing. They listened to Mike. He told them it should come in the form of an overlay. That's how everyone else is doing it. Todd has said that that was a mistake. And I've asked Todd, then why don't you write that wrong and not let them come in the form of an overlay? Make them go through the front door like everybody else does in DeKalb County. And the last time I talked to him, he said it was because he feels like they've invested enough money that it wouldn't be fair at this point. I have a problem with that because DeKalb County citizens invest money in land they buy and pray to God that the county is going to approve what they want to do. But we're not going to hold solar to the same standards. We're going to just let them have a free pass. Here's my other issue with that. Solar hasn't invested their money. They've invested taxpayer dollars. They've invested our money into our county and went around and systematically bought people's compliance. They've purchased people's cooperation within our county, right? So I have a huge issue with that mindset. And it's never too late to do the right thing. And that's what I told Todd. It's never too late to right your wrongs, because if you don't, this, guys, this is what happens. And this happens all the way across the United States of America. Okay. So what's happening now is the overlay request is going to go to the Plan Commission. And I know I sound like a Karen here. I hate being in this position, but facts. Go look at public meetings. They were live streamed. You can watch this stuff. So the Plan Commission, I want to remind you who this group of people is. And our commissioners are now saying, hey, if you don't want this to go through, you have to fight the Plan Commission. You've got to make them follow the UDO, this UDO that everybody talks to. The city council, council or commissioners had denied somebody bringing some kind of a business into downtown Auburn. I had listened to it and read about it because it didn't align with the UDO. It wasn't the proper use of land, right? Chris Gallmer spoke about the UDO at the county commissioners meeting last week and said, I want to make sure we follow the UDO. So we have this thing, the Unified Development Ordinance, that says that A1 land can't have more than 15% impervious structures, A2 can't have more than 20. Chris Gallmer has publicly said at a meeting, Andrew Provines asked him, Chris Gallmer said, yes, these are structures. He has admitted that. Andrew Provines looked at the commissioners and said, are you going to follow the UDO? Are you going to make people follow the UDO? Two of them, Todd and Bill, said, yes, we're going to do that. Mike him-hawed around because he's in Solar's pocket, right? So two of them said, yes, we're going to follow the UDO. Now these conversations, for some reason, are shifting a little bit. And they're saying, well, if you want this stopped, you have to fight the Plan Commission. Let me remind you of who the Plan Commission consists of. This is the group of people, when we went in and we said, hey, we want these text amendments to the ordinance. We want these changes. We want a cap on acreage. We want larger setbacks for people who are surrounded on multiple sides. We want wildlife corridors. We want a fire safety plan. The Plan Commission is the group who sent an unfavorable recommendation to the county commissioners and chose to not give the citizens of DeKalb County those protections. Now, when the Plan Commission made that choice, there were 5 things that they were supposed to consider. They were supposed to ask if solar aligns with a comprehensive plan. Our comprehensive plan over and over again was written for a reason and states that we're supposed to protect the small town character, the rural character of our county. We're supposed to prioritize farmland. So it doesn't align with the comprehensive plan. They're supposed to ask themselves if solar is consistent with current conditions and character of current structures and uses in each zoning district. If it has to do with ag, throw it in ag. Now, solar puts a funny spin on this, and they're like, hey, these are farms. Solar's crops. You can't eat solar panels. They're full of crap, okay? So no way does solar align with the current conditions and uses of the land. They have to ask themselves if it's the most desirable use of land. They have to take that into consideration. Bill Hartman said it perfect. Why would we take the most efficient way of producing food and replace it with the most efficient way of producing power? 26% efficiency rate, right? So no, it's not the most desirable use of land. They have to ask themselves so it conserves property values. Come on, people. And I want you to ask yourself for a second, if you go and you look at a house and it has solar on 3 sides and across the street, how many of you, and I answer honestly, how many of you are going to be like, oh, I don't care, I'm going to buy that house? I'm guessing that number is very small, right? So it virtually makes a home unsellable. But solar is going to say, oh no, it doesn't hurt property values. We have provided research and evidence that states otherwise, okay? So it's not conserving property values, it's destroying them, single-handedly destroying them. And then they have to ask themselves if it promotes responsible growth and development. Does it promote development? Maybe. Economic development, it gives funds to the county, it does all those things, right? But it doesn't enhance quality of life, it doesn't diversify jobs, it does temporarily. So I would argue, no, it doesn't. So when the Plan Commission was supposed to be considering those things, you know what they considered instead? Now, I'm going to start this by saying, I don't know who Sarah was on the Plan Commission. I never met her. I never saw her. She was probably a wonderful person. I don't know why specifically she was pulled off the Plan Commission and replaced with someone else. I have no idea. I have nothing to do with that. But I know for a fact that the Plan Commission didn't consider the things that the state of Indiana said they had to consider. What they considered was they were mad at the county commissioners for pulling Sarah off the board and putting someone else in her place. They were mad at the county commissioners because they had written a stricter ordinance or recommended a stricter ordinance way back when this all started, and the commissioners denied it under Mike Watson's suggestions, and the commissioners didn't communicate with them. So instead of choosing to say, yes, we want these protections in place for the citizens of the county, they chose to settle a score with the commissioners of DeKalb County at the expense of the citizens of DeKalb County. And that is the group that we're supposed to go to war with. Our commissioners are now putting us in a position where they're saying, hey, we made a mistake. We weren't educated on this. We shouldn't have made the choices that we made with allowing them to come in the form of an overlay. But if you want to stop it, you have to go fight with the Plan Commission. So guess what? We're going to go fight with the Plan Commission. And we're going to go back and we're going to set it in the commissioner's lap when we're done. Because at the end of the day, when this all started, and I have to remember this because I keep backing off, you get to know people. I really, really like Todd Sanderson. I really like Bill Hartman. I have a ton of respect for Bill Hartman and Todd, but it's not about liking people. It's about protecting people, and they have a job to do. Okay. I'm not commenting on my feelings about Mike, but they have a job to do, and their job is to make sure that we're not a part of this crap and that we don't have the United States of America covered in renewable energy. Okay. Their job is to make sure that we don't create a problem that our children has to deal with. Their job is to make sure that the ag industry is not shut out in DeKalb County. Their job is to make sure that we don't have to continue to increase taxpayer dollars because we keep allowing the state and the federal government to push their agendas on us without fighting back. So I'm asking you, come to the October 18th meeting. There's going to be a group of us that are going to be going door to door for all the non-participating landowners for all three projects. That's Leeward, BP, and Sculpin. I'm going to have a meeting at my house. I want all the non-participating landowners to come to the Plan Commission meeting, as well as anyone else who's sick of this crap in DeKalb County. And I want you to ask them, are you going to follow the UDO? It's written, you follow it for everything else. 15% for A1, 20% for A2. Do you plan on following it? And when they say no, we have to be prepared to take a stance. And we have to be prepared to hold our county commissioners responsible for putting us in a position where we now have to fight with people in our county. So I don't know exactly what that looks like yet, but I need you guys to know what's going on. I need you to remember why we're fighting, and I'm going to need you to be a part of the solution. So feel free to comment, ask questions. We'll clarify